Do you ever, look at the news or just the sheer amount of chaos in the modern world and feel entirely overwhelmed?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's basically an everyday occurrence at this point.
Right, because you've got the existential threat of AI looming, bizarre natural disasters happening every other week, the complete breakdown of trust in traditional institutions.
Yeah, it's a lot to process.
It is. And you just think, is the universe broken? What is going on? But what if there was a framework that not only predicted all of this chaos, but actually explained it as a necessary feature?
Like it's not a bug at all.
Exactly. Not a bug, a feature. And for this deep dive, we are looking at a really fascinating translated lecture.
We are. It was originally given to new university staff in South Korea, actually,
Right.
and it introduces a philosophical and religious movement known as Daesun Jinriho.
Which is super interesting. But, before we really get into the weeds here, I think we should clarify our mission today.
Definitely. Our goal is simply to unpack the concepts presented in this lecture impartially.
Yeah, we aren't endorsing any specific religious or political viewpoints. We're just exploring the ideas that this framework offers about the nature of our reality.
Right, exactly. Just laying out what the source material says.
So let's unpack this, because the way this framework describes reality is honestly wild.
It really is.
It's like we've been trying to troubleshoot a glitchy app on our phones, getting frustrated when it crashes.
Throwing the phone against the wall.
Right. But this lecture is essentially telling us the operating system of the universe itself is still in beta.
Yeah, it's a beta universe.
Yeah.
And to understand why this operating system is in beta, we really have to define the scope of the problem.
Okay, lay it on me.
So the speaker uses a historical comparison involving the ancient King Jinhung of the Silla dynasty.
Okay, King Jinhong.
Right. When he wanted to know what was really happening in his kingdom, he didn't just sit in his palace and, read reports from his advisors.
Like a CEO actually going down to the factory floor.
Exactly that. He physically toured the nation to inspect the real problems firsthand. And that action, that touring, was called Sun Tzu.
So getting out of the palace, walking the streets, and literally seeing the actual potholes in the road.
Exactly. But this philosophy introduces a much larger sort of cosmic version of that concept called Daesun.
Daesun.
Yeah, Daesun is an action verb that means to tour and inspect the entire universe.
Wow, the whole thing.
The whole thing. We are talking about heaven, earth, and humanity, what they call the three realms.
So the Supreme Being didn't just look at one country.
No, he conducted a massive cosmic inspection to find the ultimate solution to why everything feels so broken.
And the conclusion of that cosmic inspection is where we get the beta operating system idea, right?
Yes, the core thesis here is that the universe, and that includes the fundamental concepts of yin and yang,
Yeah.
and the five elements, which actually represent time in this framework,
Okay.
all of it is currently incomplete. It's just unfinished.
Unfinished. That is such a wild concept.
The lecture compares this incomplete time to a worn-out spring.
Like a metal spring.
Right. Think about how a brand new spring bounces back infinitely, with perfect elasticity.
Sure, it's super rigid and bouncy.
But a worn-out one loses that bounce. It eventually just sags and, well, it stops working altogether.
It just gives out.
Yeah. In this framework, that loss of elasticity is the literal mechanical explanation for human aging.
Wait, really?
Yeah. It is why physical things break down over time. The energy of the universe is quite literally losing its bounds.
Okay, but wait, I have to ask. If there's a supreme being doing this big cosmic inspection, why build the universe with a worn-out spring in the first place?
It's a great question.
Like, why build it incomplete? That seems like a massive oversight.
Well, according to the source, it wasn't a mistake or a blunder. It was an intentional design choice.
Intentional.
Yes. The explanation is that if humans were born into a perfectly finished universe, essentially if we were all born with a golden spoon in our mouths, there would be zero struggle.
Okay, I see where this is going.
Right. And without struggle, there is no growth. And ultimately, no true enlightenment.
Huh.
The flaws, the friction, the worn-out springs, they are all an intentional cosmic training ground designed to force humanity to evolve.
Okay, I have to push back here on behalf of anyone listening who is having a genuinely terrible day.
Fair enough.
Because, natural disasters, human suffering, the fact that my car broke down and I lost my job, those are just cosmic
Oh,
growing
I
pains.
know, it sounds...
It feels a bit harsh. Like, for the people actually living through it, how does this philosophy actually help you deal with a bad day in a practical sense?
So dealing with that bad day requires understanding the mechanics of luck, misfortune, and human consciousness.
Okay.
In this framework, misfortune and blessing are intimately linked through a concept called Huabok.
Wow.
Yes.
Yes.
And the absolute unbreakable rule of Huabok is that misfortune always arrives before the blessing.
Oh, always.
Always. To illustrate this, the speaker uses this really memorable analogy. Imagine misfortune as a very ugly, unpleasant woman arriving at your front door.
Okay. Not an unwelcome guest you want to see.
Right. And blessing is a beautiful, radiant woman standing right behind her.
So the misfortune is literally knocking on the door first.
Exactly. If you get angry at the first woman, if you lose your temper, curse your bad luck, and violently chase her away, the second woman turns around and leaves too.
Oh, wow. So they're a package deal.
They are. Heaven actively uses misfortune to test your patience, to see if you actually have the emotional and spiritual maturity to handle the blessing that is waiting in the wings.
That's fascinating. So by throwing a tantrum about the flat tire on my way to work, I just chased away the promotion that was coming my way tomorrow.
That is the practical application, yes. You failed the test.
Wow. Okay, I need to rethink my mornings.
And passing that test, not chasing away the misfortune, requires a massive amount of internal equilibrium.
Right, which is not easy.
Not all. And this brings us to how human consciousness actually functions in this framework. It's split into two distinct parts, Han and Bake.
Han and Bake. Okay, break that down for me.
So Han is the heavenly spirit or soul, and Bake is the earthly physical body or soul.
Okay, too fast.
Right. And in this philosophy, spirits residing only in heaven cannot truly learn or evolve.
I'm not.
Because they exist in a state of static perfection. They don't have any resistance. So they come to Earth and take on physical flesh specifically to experience friction.
Okay, this makes me think of computing again.
Oh, how so?
It's like Han is your cloud storage, infinite, floating, pristine, where all your files make perfect sense.
I like that.
And Bake is the local hardware, like
Yeah.
the heavy, overheating physical machine sitting on your desk.
Yes, exactly.
So if your hardware and your cloud are out of sync, your whole system crashes. Is that what human inner turmoil is? The cloud and the hardware fighting?
Yes. And taking that hardware and cloud analogy a step further, the combining of Han and Bake, that exact friction between the pristine spirit and the demanding physical body, is what literally generates human thoughts.
Wait, really? It generates thought itself?
Yes. It is the engine of awakening. Without the heavy, demanding body, the spirit doesn't have anything to push against.
Oh, that makes so much sense.
So when your Afla and Bake are clashing, when your heavenly spirit knows you should be patient, but your earthly body is exhausted and just wants to yell at the person cutting you off in traffic.
Which happens a lot.
Right. That internal system crash isn't a failure. Managing it is step one of the cosmic test.
So inner turmoil is just my cloud and hardware trying to sync up. That's actually somewhat comforting,
It gives it a purpose.
Exactly. It means the anxiety or the frustration has a mechanical purpose. But if internal harmony is step one, step two has to be external harmony, right?
It is. And the ultimate real-world test of yin and yang, according to this framework, is marriage.
Oh, boy. The ultimate test.
Marriage is presented as most difficult, grueling, yin-yang training ground imaginable.
I think a lot of married people listening right now are nodding their heads.
Oh, absolutely. It is the ultimate test of balancing two entirely different forces. The lecture compares it to a two-person, three-legged race.
Right, yeah.
If one person stumbles, both people hit the dirt. You cannot succeed alone, and you cannot win by dragging the other person.
Right. And there's a moment in the text where the speaker critiques traditional religious advice on this subject, isn't there?
Yes, there's a really humorous part.
Yeah, he points out the irony of a celibate Catholic priest giving marriage counseling to a married couple.
Right. The argument being, you cannot truly understand the friction of yin and yang if you haven't tied your leg to someone else's and tried to run the race yourself.
It's like taking driving lessons from someone who only rides the bus.
Exactly. You have to experience and solve these conflicts yourself to reach the next level of enlightenment, which is defined by a concept called haptiok.
Haptiok. What does that translate to?
It translates to the joining of virtues, but it isn't just loosely combining two things like tossing different ingredients in a salad. It requires absolutely equal power. The combining elements must be perfectly balanced.
So no one is overpowering anyone else.
Exactly. A truly complete universe requires a perfect 50.50 equality between yin, which is associated with the earth and women, and yang, which is associated with heaven and men.
And the text explicitly calls out past male-dominated societies for failing this metric.
Oh, it goes in hard on that.
It mentions a time when men would eat comfortably at the table while women were forced to eat underneath it or out in the kitchen.
Yeah, totally unequal.
And it points out that major world religions have historically been led exclusively by men.
Right.
The text labels this historical imbalance as budiak, right? A severe lack of virtue. Because mechanically, you can't have a complete universe when one half of the equation is actively suppressing the other half.
It's like trying to run that three-legged race by just picking up and carrying your partner.
Right, it doesn't work.
And that historical imbalance, that forced inequality, is directly responsible for much of the historical chaos humanity has experienced. It was an unnatural state for the cosmic operating system.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though, if you look at the modern world.
Okay.
Because if perfect 50.50 equality is the goal, why does it feel like the gender divide, or just societal division in general, is wider and more aggressive than ever right now?
That's a very fair point.
Like, we are definitely not in a state of perfect harmony right now. Does the source explain this modern friction?
It does. The mechanics of a pendulum actually explain this modern friction perfectly.
The pendulum.
Yeah. Because humanity spent thousands of years violently pulling the pendulum toward extreme male dominance, you cannot simply let go and expect it to magically stop dead in the center.
Of course, physics.
Right. The pendulum has to swing hard in the exact opposite direction to correct the momentum.
Wow. So the intense friction, the culture wars, the extreme pushback we see today.
It's the chaotic overcorrection required before the universe can finally settle into that true 50.50 haptic center.
So the chaos is the correction. We are just feeling the G-force of the pendulum swinging back.
Exactly.
That is a really helpful way to look at it. But the framework doesn't stop at interpersonal relationships, does it?
No, it goes much bigger.
Right. We've covered the inner turmoil of the soul. We've covered marriage and gender equality. But the largest imbalance, the one that is supposedly causing the most severe global chaos, is the fractured relationship between humans and the spiritual world.
Yes, the relationship with heaven itself.
How did we mess that up?
Well, according to the text, humans have completely alienated the spiritual realm through pure materialism.
Oh.
We have embraced the physical world so completely that we treat the natural world and the spirits that govern it with absolute entitlement.
So we just take what we want.
Right. And the spirits are so frustrated by human ignorance and arrogance that there's an actual saying used in this philosophy. Frost in May and June.
Frost in the middle of summer.
Right. It represents the unnatural, confused, and angry state of the spiritual world reacting to human behavior.
Oh, wow.
Nature itself is out of rhythm because the spirits are so alienated by us. And historically, we actively misunderstood them in just horrifying ways.
Horrifying how?
Well, there's a gruesome historical example given. In ancient China, when there were severe droughts, humans thought they needed to appease heaven to make it rain.
Okay, pretty standard ancient practice.
Sure. But their method was to take a human being, coat them entirely in mud, and roast them alive over a fire.
Wait, roast them alive? Like,
Literally compared in the text to roasting a whole duck.
yeah.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. That is horrific.
Right. It was called In Sim Gong Yang, human sacrifice.
Which is incredibly grim, but it's also, the ultimate tragic irony. Humans thought they were being pious. They thought they were speaking heaven's language by offering a sacrifice to make it rain.
Meanwhile, heaven completely despises this practice. Humans thought they were solving the problem, but they were actually committing an atrocity that drove a massive wedge between humanity and the spiritual realm.
It just made things infinitely worse.
Exactly. And to illustrate how far humanity had fallen, there's a narrative where the Supreme Being disguised himself as a tiger.
A tiger.
Yeah, to walk the earth and observe humanity from an animal's perspective.
And looking through the eyes of a tiger, humanity's review is probably not good.
Not at all. From the tiger's perspective, humans just look like pigs.
Pigs.
Yeah, blindly eating, consuming everything in their path, completely unaware of the spiritual reality around them, just raw, unchecked appetite.
That is quite the visual.
It is. The Supreme Being seriously considered wiping humanity out completely because we had become so degraded.
Yeah.
But he ultimately decided to leave a few behind, just to preserve the seed of humanity.
Okay, so what does this all mean? If Heaven historically viewed us as blind pigs, and we've got this track record of roasting each other in mud to make it rain. How do we fix this without just getting wiped out?
Right, what's the solution?
Yeah, what is the actual mechanism for change here?
Well, the mechanism isn't a final apocalypse where everything is destroyed.
Okay, good news.
Right. Instead, it is a massive cosmic restructuring, a grand remodeling of the universe.
Remodeling.
Yes. The framework states that the Earth's axis is literally, physically, and spiritually going to straighten out.
Wait, hold on. How does physically straightening the Earth's axis fix my spiritual problems or stop human suffering?
Think about the physics of it.
Yeah.
A tilted axis is what creates extreme seasons, harsh winters, scorching summers.
Okay, yeah.
That is friction. It is the physical manifestation of the worn-out spring we talked about earlier, where time and energy are out of balance.
Ah, so the tilt is the worn-out spring.
Exactly. By straightening the axis, the physical and spiritual realms align perfectly. You enter a state of perpetual, perfect balance.
So no more extreme friction.
Right. The cosmic energy aligns with human energy. Suddenly, the 365 days of the year match up perfectly without any need for leap years or adjustments.
It is total equilibrium.
Yes. And in this perfected state, the wear and tear of time stops, leading to a state of no aging or death.
Wow. It's like we're currently living through a kitchen renovation.
Yes. That's a perfect way to look at it.
There's dust everywhere, deafening noise, chaos. You can't find your coffee maker.
Right, it's miserable.
The current state of the world, the climate change, the natural disasters, the global hunger, this is the drywall dust of the cosmic construction site.
Exactly. People look at it and mistakenly think the house is being demolished.
But it is actually being upgraded to that perfect mode.
Yes. And the blueprint for this remodeled universe is summarized in 4 core tenets.
Okay, what are they?
First, yin-yang harmony, which we talked about, that perfect 50-50 balance.
Right.
Second, God and human harmony, fixing that fractured relationship where we stop acting like blind pigs.
Also important.
Third is a deeply complex concept called Heiwan Sangsang, which means resolving all historical grievances so we can actually live together.
Okay.
And fourth, achieving ultimate truth.
Let's dig into that third one for a second, Heiwan Sangsang. Because if I'm the victim of a mud duck sacrifice, I'm going to hold a grudge.
Naturally.
How do you actually resolve thousands of years of trauma and bloodshed?
That is the brilliance of Heiwan Sangsang. It isn't just about offering an apology or demanding forgiveness.
What is it then?
It is an active unknotting of the grievance. You resolve the grievance by actively working to help the other party thrive. It is mutual, life-saving coexistence.
So you have to actively build them up.
Exactly. Past philosophies and religions had fragments of these ideas, but they never achieved full haptiok, that equal combining.
Right, the 50.50.
Yeah. They never managed to resolve historical grievances without just creating new bloodshed or forced sacrifice. This philosophy presents these 4 tenets not just as moral guidelines, but as the literal architectural blueprint for how the universe completes its remodeling process without destroying the house.
It's a truly fascinating way to frame reality. We are essentially living in the drywall dust of a cosmic construction site, waiting for the beta operating system to finally be uninstalled.
It really reframes everything.
That actually explains a lot of the daily news. And, the most important takeaway for you listening right now is that, according to this framework, you are not just a passive bystander getting dust in your eyes.
No, not at all.
You are an active participant in this cosmic Daesoon, this universal inspection.
Yes. Every time your cloud storage and your hardware clash, your Han and your Bake, that internal battle is the universe upgrading.
It's part of the process.
Exactly. Your relationships, your attempts at a 3-legged race, and how you treat the world around you are all micro processes of the universe trying to reach its final completed version.
So, the next time misfortune shows up at your door, remember the ugly woman analogy.
Don't chase her away.
Right. Don't immediately chase her away in a fit of anger. Try to have the patience to look a little closer, because the blessing you've been waiting for might be standing right behind her, waiting to see how you handle the friction.
And that friction has an ultimate purpose. When humans and spirits finally reach perfect harmony, humans will no longer just be subjects living inside the universe.
Wait, what will they be?
They will actually co-manage the universe alongside the spirits.
Wow. Which leaves us with this final thought. If this modern world we are living in is just the chaotic beta test, and we've historically misunderstood the universe so badly that we thought roasting a human in mud was a good idea,
Yeah.
what is our modern equivalent? What are we doing right now, blindly thinking we are fixing things with technology or progress, while actually making the spirits furious?
That is the million-dollar question.
What if our brilliant modern solutions are just more mud? Think about that the next time you're stuck in traffic,